Warning: you are about to enter a world where individuals have self-respect, and therefore do not comply with a government that does not comply itself. For some people, the truth is offensive. Listener discretion is advised. Some of the ideas presented on this show will be controversial, but are presented by vetted journalists with the proper press credentials, and therefore should be taken seriously. If you are a compliant person like BitPain, stop listening now in order to protect your fragile sensibilities.
Non-compliance and things like the beef initiative are a grave threat to my ability to buy up all the farmland in America and convince the population to only eat bugs. We need to stop this, guys, and make them comply.
Bitcoin is about not trusting and relentlessly seeking to verify information unless a PodConf-approved speaker says something. This goes against the ethos of journalism, which is entirely about trusting vetted individuals who selflessly put themselves out there to inform the public and would never do this work for monetary gain. Journalism is about serving the public good, and unfortunately, PodConf has hijacked that mission, misleading thousands of Bitcoiners. We are on a crusade to change that and restore the institution of journalism. Credentials matter, now more than ever in the age of disinformation. That is why, during times of struggle, it is more important than ever to let the professionals and experts tell you what to think. Life is too damn hard to do the thinking yourself.
You can make America great again by reading the Bugle. Take back your mind by outsourcing the thinking to them instead of the spooks.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
PodConf is ensuring a world where number go up is the single most important priority. In order to do this, individuals need to comply by using Saylor's new ID verification system called Orange Protocol. Users of Bitcoin need to go through a strict KYC process on the protocol level to ensure that Bitcoin reaches its maximum dollar price. To support the work PodConf is doing, please visit our website where you can buy t-shirts and other swag, as well as read some of the most interesting research on how compliance will support NGU.
On this week's episode of the Bugle Weekly, hard-hitting news journalist Richard Greaser interviews Max and Jon from the Ungovernable Misfits podcast, which is currently dominating the Fountain charts. While not being credentialed journalists, they are experts in not complying with the rules. During the episode, Richard experienced technical difficulties as a result from being unable to afford 6 show producers, like what Bitcoin did. If you want to see the Bugle Weekly afford 6 producers, including attractive women producers, please consider donating to us. Enjoy the show.
All right, welcome to the Bugle Weekly podcast. Today we're mixing it up. We have 2 non-compliant individuals joining us to discuss how to be ungovernable. Welcome to the show, Jon and Max.
Thanks for having us, Dick.
Yeah, thank you.
So, have you guys ever been interviewed by a real journalist before?
Not one that is accredited, no.
Not of this caliber. We aspire to, but this is the first.
So yeah, I've been really excited because I think I'm going to be giving people an opportunity to get outside of the PodConf ecosystem, to interact with real journalists, and they're going to understand why credentials matter more because of my superior reporting and better information gathering than other people. Like, I think that, we could really improve long-form podcasting and get rid of these fake media personalities like Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman that are not credentialed journalists. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Dick, have you ever posted up your credentials? Are they peer-reviewed? How can we verify this?
Well, I actually keep my credentials private for OPSEC reasons, given the nature of the work that I'm doing.
Understandable. As far as I know as well, you can only actually review credentials if you have credentials yourself. So we wouldn't be able to do it even if you were to release them.
That's a good point. I suppose that was wrong of me to ask, but
it was.
Not sure I care.
If you reach out to some real journalists like Mark Goodwin or Lola Leeds, they'll back me up on my credentials. They know, but I'm sure, for fake journalists like Peter McCormick that are really just content creators, they'll try to criticize.
What could somebody like me do to become a credentialed journalist? What's the path forward?
He's gone. Nothing. Disgusted by your question there, mate.
It's like he ran from us.
Well, while we have the stage, fuck compliance. There's a few tips that me and Jon have put together to help you be less compliant. Should we reel some off, Jon?
Tip number 1, don't give a fuck.
Oh, I like that one. I think it's also important to incorporate certain ungovernable ways into your daily routine. So, what I like to do when I wake up in the morning is say to my family, I love you, and say to the state, go fuck yourself.
That's an easy one. It's a nice mantra to say while you're alone in the bathroom taking a shit. It's calming.
That's one of the best.
It's soothing. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, just sweetly like that as well. Oh, he's back. I hope he's not recording this.
He may be a credentialed journalist, but he's not a credentialed podcaster.
Absolutely not. The technical skills they leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah. We would never let something like this happen on Ungovernable Misfits.
Absolutely not.
Professional.
What other tips have we got?
It helps to cut the tether that the state has upon you. Growing your own food.
Growing your own sats.
Growing your own tribe or community.
Feed those sats and those miners with water. Not water, electricity. Vegetables with water. Vegetables with water, children with water and food, miners with electricity. You get some tasty, tasty sats.
How about a circular pleb economy?
Oh, yeah, I like that. Old Greaser would hate that, wouldn't he?
He would. Free of state oversight and control.
He fucking
Disgusting.
loves it. Keeps joining the chat and then leaving again.
That's what my NSA agent does.
Well, fuck compliance. That's all we can say. Don't give up. Just keep fighting. The state hates you. They hate everything about you. They hate your family. And even the thought of you having more children. Imagine how disgusted they'd be when you just think about that. Oh, I'd like to bring some more life into the world.
More useless eaters. Breeders. Taking up our precious natural resources that are reserved only for the elite.
They hate pain and payments. Thank you for yours this morning, by the way, mate.
Oh, you're quite welcome. What is it that I paid you for?
Just my time. My love.
Please record with
That's
me.
also illegal.
Here's a pay it. I paid for your love. That makes you a prostitute, sir.
Which is certainly illegal, isn't it? But we don't comply, so...
Do you think this is a false flag, what's happening here to Richard Greaser?
Could be.
I can see how he's going to spin this angle. Like, the feds were after me. They don't want my message to get out. They realize that we are rebelling against PodConf. Oh, no. They're trying to silence my voice.
It's probably how we'll spin it. Or he's just thought, I'll just dump these two with nothing to say, no questions, being very professional, and just let themselves tie each other into knots, cause a load of problems, and then attack them.
It's not a bad idea. We can even tie each other in knots to the point where we can't send each other payments.
Oh, I like it. That's
All right,
not going to happen.
You are back.
We took over.
Wow. Well, I'm sure it was good. I don't know. I mean, when you're trying to record a podcast on a typewriter, things get pretty difficult.
I can imagine.
Do you think this was a state attack?
What was? Me not knowing how to use my typewriter?
What just happened here? To the Bitcoin Bugle?
I think it's important to be adversarial minded and to know that there is a possibility for state level attacks, because what we're dealing with is non-compliant organizations who are seeking not to comply in any way that they possibly can. And so that can hurt us. They can direct their non-compliance toward us. which is, why it's really important to shift and make sure that we need to make the government compliant. That's step one. That's part of being ungovernable, is forcing the state to be governable or governed.
What if I just tell them to fuck off?
That's nice. Or fuck themselves.
Mm-hmm. Stick it where the sun don't shine.
I think that's that's a pretty good strategy in certain circumstances where, like if they're not complying. So like, a good example is, Ron Palmer talked about how it shouldn't be illegal to launder money for the CIA in a democracy, and how the state going after samurai for laundering money for the CIA is just absolutely absurd. And so like that's a good time to to tell the state to fuck off, because they're not being compliant in the way that they're pursuing these arrests of these individuals that were being compliant.
I saw on the Clark Moody dashboard that the unspent whirlpool capacity of the CIA was about 15 million Bitcoin. $15 million worth of Bitcoin. That was just added to Clark Moody's dashboard.
So, part like Seth for Privacy was advocating for this, is that we need to force the CIA to KYC all of their cryptocurrency buys, including Monero. We need to KYC the cryptocurrencies that they're mining on the NSA data center computers, so that way that we can have transparency on these things, so we can actually see the CIA's Bitcoin in Whirlpool. Like, I think that's great that Clark Moody's working on a tool like that. But like, if we're able to, kind of follow the money as far as what these intelligence agencies are doing when they're laundering it, we can force them to be compliant, and then if the government's compliant, then we can comply with the government.
The government forces compliance upon us at the end of a gun. So how do we enforce compliance on the government?
I think the big one, it's civil disobedience. Like, we just have to say we're not complying. We're on strike. This is a compliance strike, and we're not going to comply until either the state changes the rules where they continue on their current operations and they're compliant with their own laws, or they stop what they're doing now and just comply with their own laws. Either way, I'd be happy, but I can't be happy until the state is ultimately the compliant ones, because a bunch of non-compliant individuals trying to go after compliant individuals and accusing them of being non-compliant is just so absurd. Like, this is not how democracy works.
As ungovernable misfits, we have no skin in the game.
This is true.
What do you mean?
Meaning that if we ourselves are not compliant, we cannot enforce government non-compliers to comply.
Nor do we care. They can do what they want. And we will continue doing what we want.
It seems like some dangerous misinformation. So have you guys ever heard of consent of the governed? Or like a social contract? Have you heard of these terms? It's something they taught us in journalism school.
No, I missed that one, mate.
I wasn't aware that journalists even studied Constitution or the Federalist Papers.
Or went to school.
Well, typically we don't study the Constitution or the Federalist Papers, but what we do study is how to manufacture consent in regards to believing in the Constitution. And so, in the right circumstances, we also learned how to manufacture non-consent.
Is Ungovernable Misfits manufactured?
Well, I mean, everything's manufactured.
What about bananas? Are they manufactured?
They can be. But yeah, anyways, so you guys had an ad read you wanted to...
I was approached by PodConf and offered a significant amount of money to read this ad copy. I intend to use the significant amount of money that PodConf has paid Max and I to continue our message of dismantling the state. I'm going to use their tools of propaganda against them. This episode of Bitcoin Bugle is brought to you by PodConf. PSA Ungovernable Misfits is not PodConf approved. We encourage you to tune into PodConf approved podcasts like What the Bitcoins Do, Why We Are Bullshit, and the Swan News Happy Hour. We at PodConf boast a growing list of PodConf approved and trained journalists like Natalie Brunels, Stefan Labrera, and Pete the Rizzler, who are guaranteed to provide accurate, peer-reviewed, and compliant Bitcoin content free of disinformation. Continued listening to non-PodConf approved pods like Ungovernable Misfits may cause the following side effects: restlessness, curiosity, skepticism, autonomy, sovereignty, defiance, kinship, competence, proficiency, enlightenment, wisdom, self-determination, and overall nonconformity. At PodConf, we only want the best for you and the children, as we believe they are the future.
That was a pretty good ad read, but fuck PodConf. Those guys are assholes.
Yeah, but I'll take their money.
Absolutely. There's just so much of it.
So when you guys are deciding on whether or not to take PodConf money, like what goes into the consideration there? Because
how many zeros are after the number?
Bingo.
That's the only consideration, isn't it, John?
Absolutely.
Well, what's the figure that you guys are willing to kind of sell out to on your principles?
We lost you again there, Dick.
I've been asking people this. Am I back?
Yes. The figure that we would sell out is 36, 25, 34.
Pretty good amount of money.
Those are measurements, pal.
Yeah. Well, measurements of what?
Sex appeal.
Thanks of it, mate. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Thanks, pal.
Interesting.
Did they teach you about sex appeal at school? Is this something you can learn?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you can exploit. It's something that I wanted to exploit with the Bugle for some time. I think, Ginger, she's got some sex appeal. I don't know if you follow our writer, Ginger B. Stiffen, but she definitely has some bangers, and getting her out there in the open, to, attract people. It's a good marketing and journalistic tool for sure. But I think what would take this show to the next level is if we had a female producer with a lot of sex appeal kind of assisting in the process. But the problem is we're getting into the bull market, and the market for attractive women that are interested in Bitcoin is going to dry up because I expect Swan to buy them all. And so
high demand, low supply, isn't there?
Yeah. So this is why, the value for value ecosystem is really important. So for people listening to the podcast, that value the Bugle's content, please consider donating so that we can hire an attractive woman to work with us to take us to the next level of journalism. I think it's really important for the industry.
Dick, may I make an appeal to the listeners? If you're using podcasting 2.0 and want to boost this show, don't do it. Do it through something that you can claim your taxes. Proper donation. Mm-hmm. This is a legitimate organization. Don't stop what you're doing right now. Don't look at your phone. Don't press that boost button.
Yeah. You can do that with ours because we're non-compliant, but I know you guys wouldn't want that, so I assume you want a check or something like that.
Let's take a break to get a brief economics lesson from renowned fiat economist Stephanie Kelton.
Hey guys, things are looking phenomenal in the economy today, thanks to the government's ability to print money. The Biden administration is working harder than ever to solve the issues of climate change and systemic racism by absolutely flooding the system with cash. Can you imagine how unstable the world would be if a hard currency was used? No. Instead, the U.S. government has the ability to flood unprecedented amounts of liquidity to Ukraine and Israel to ensure world safety and stability. The debt isn't the reason we can't have nice things. Our broken thinking is. To fix our broken thinking, we need to overcome more than just an aversion to big numbers with the word debt attached. We need to beat back every destructive myth that hobbles our thinking. We need to listen to credentialed economists like me and not anonymous accounts on Bitcoin Twitter. That's all for this week. We will see you next week for another Macro Minute.
Don't be a common sense denier. Get your facts straight by listening to Stephanie. She is a credentialed economist and expert, and you should trust the science. Without modern monetary theory, we couldn't have nice things. There are trade-offs with everything. While printing money has taken the dollar menu at McDonald's away from us, it has given us stable economic conditions, as well as a massive government to keep us safe. Don't question. Just listen to the experts.
Well, we were trying to figure out how to KYC our listeners, and then also how to send the boosters 1099s, like tax forms, and then all this samurai stuff happened, and we realized how non-compliant the state was, and now we've pivoted. We as an organization, we can't morally support these types of activities until the government complies. So I would say, if people want to send us non-compliant boosts, go for it. Like we'll take it right now. But that might change in the future. We might become compliant again, depending on the circumstances.
So currently non-compliant, but compliant again when it suits.
Yeah, I mean, we're just adjusting based on the information we're getting. We're trying to make the correct decisions, and we do make the correct decisions because we're trained journalists, and so we have that educational foundation in order to be able to make the correct decisions and direct our audience in the correct ways. Because we do the thinking for our listeners. It's like a really important part of the Bugle. I know you guys might have a different perspective on things where you try to, help your listeners think for themselves. But the problem with that is your listeners are really busy with their lives. And most people just don't have the time and energy to go do all that thinking. And so that's why it's useful to have good journalistic agencies like the Bugle to do that thinking for them.
Yeah, it makes sense, mate. Thinking is hard.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of thinking, so Max, can you explain to me why in your country, so is the British government as non-compliant as the American government?
Yeah, I've spoken to Jon about this a few times. I would say that we are probably less compliant than the American government, but we've been doing it for a lot longer, so we're much better at hiding it. So they do a lot more crazy shit, but they don't get caught as much.
Yeah, I'm in my head right now. So I opened my typewriter this morning and looked at some headlines, and I saw that the British government's looking to do a smoking ban, complete smoking ban, not just prevent people from smoking on places they should be able to smoke, like airplanes and trains and buses. But they want to prevent anybody from smoking, which is kind of a crazy concept.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. You can't even smoke in a fucking hospital anymore. It's disgusting.
So, what do you think the angle is here? Because smoking is one of those things that helps people think for themselves. Nicotine cures COVID. There's so many aspects of it that are important. They just want.
Yeah, I think one of the main problems is tobacco has anti-aging properties, and what they're really wanting to do is fill up the hospitals as much as possible, and have people die quicker. So I think that's probably part of their reasoning there. It's look, as you said, nicotine does cure COVID, and tobacco is anti-aging. So if you think of it that way, the best thing that they could do to make sure that their population is as sick or dead as possible would be a smoking ban. So I understand it.
It's really like I if Alex Gladstein does not make this a major point for him in HRF, like I'm really gonna throw a fit.
It's a human rights violation. And my understanding is that tobacco cigarettes, or as they say in the UK, fags, have been banned for certain people, but tobacco laced with adrenochrome is encouraged.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Great health benefits.
Again, anti-aging properties, but the thing is that what they like to do is have these things less accessible to the poors, you know. So the 99.9% of people in the UK who can't afford to turn their lights on because the electricity rates are so fucking ridiculous here, they don't want them to have the adrenochrome. It's only if you're in the boys' club. And obviously there's certain things that you have to do there, and it's just not for me.
Sure.
That makes sense. So,
Dick, I think you might enjoy some of these things, but yeah, not for me, mate.
So, like, you know, using the words fags and cigarettes, like when, like I don't speak British very often, but I think it'd be kind of fun to do it. So I'm kind of wondering if when I'm going on British content or interacting with, you know, Australians like Tip NZ and other funny talkers like Peter McCormick, if I should just use the word fags, you know, to help them understand what I'm talking about a little bit more.
I think for the people you've just mentioned, fags is a brilliant description. I think that's probably the way that you should address. Okay, that's fine. Use wasabi wallet. Yeah, I think it's a great way. It's a great descriptive word. They're going to really like it. It's going to make them feel at ease. So it's probably how you should address them. You can use things like... Go on.
So you're saying the proper way to address British people is to refer to them as fags or faggots, like kind of like
I wouldn't say faggots. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say faggots, but I would say like fags, especially for like the more compliant British Bitcoiners, the aforementioned. Fag would be perfect.
I think they'd feel at home. Especially if they're abroad.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that's really important is being able to, you know, as an interviewer, as a journalist, to be able to, you know, put people in a comfortable spot.
At ease, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that would help.
So speaking of a fag named Peter McCormick, he has been shifting to being non-compliant as well. I don't know if you saw his tweet about taxes, where now he sees taxes as theft.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that tweet. I'm sure there will be another tweet very soon saying the absolute opposite of that. It's got nothing to do with engagement. He's just thinking these ideas through like he has done for the last 7 years or whatever it's been. It's very important for him to do that. It's very important for him to take both sides at all times and be able to do as many interviews as possible to cover both sides. That's what real journalism is about. And I think where you've made a mistake here is not understanding that he is a real journalist. And I think you could learn a lot from him.
I don't think there's anything I can learn from him. Like, I think if I put out a paid course on how to be a Bitcoin journalist, Peter would be one of the first people to take it.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
What about things like, for example, getting people on to hear a sob story about why someone's been arrested and now sitting in a jail cell and be very sad about that? And then as soon as you finish that interview and done that sob story and had those listens and got paid for it, to then go and take on a sponsor who actually pays for the chain analysis to put that person in jail. What's your thoughts on that?
So this person took CIA as a sponsorship? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine. It's just a good... See, this is where I think you can learn. It's like a perfect circle. It's like, get money to fund chain analysis, shill that product that doesn't work, then people go to prison, then get them on the show and their lawyers on the show to talk about why they're in prison, pretend you're sad, and round it goes. It's very smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to what I think I'm trying to do, and it sounds like you guys are trying to do, where you take the PodConf money in order to fund the ending of PodConf, the resistance towards it. You know what I mean?
Professional. This is what we're all about.
Yeah.
Professionalism.
I do think...
We learn from the best, and that enables you to have more producers, and that enables you to do less work.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you can hire beautiful producers. Perhaps you can go out to Pacific Bitcoin and sift through a number of candidates from Corey Klippenstein's harem and choose the one with the biggest belly laugh, like a Robin Quivers type belly laugh that laughs at every stupid thing that you say.
Perfect.
And has big, giant, shaking jugs. And you take that PodConf money and you hire her as your 8th producer on the show. You are guaranteed to put out banging content.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great idea. I think that, like, I updated my Geyser fund to show, or to reflect, like, the goal. We need to hit a certain target, which I think I set at like 10 million Satoshis, in order to hire 6 producers like Peter has to compete with him. But I think I'll have to, like, boost the goal of the campaign if it needs to be attractive women that need to be hired, because they carry a premium for sure.
Have you sent Corey a DM?
No, but I will. I know he's probably one of the most effective talent scouts in the PodConf ecosystem, I would say, hands down. So he would definitely be somebody worth talking to about this. Kind of wrapping up and getting into the final thoughts of the show. So so you guys, your group or organization, it's called Ungovernable Misfits. So what do you think the pillars or the foundations of being ungovernable are? And what would you like to impress on the Bugle audience?
I'd like to call Ungovernable Misfits an unorganization.
Ooh, I like that.
Does that mean like a DAO or something?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like a decentralized, autonomous group who do what the fuck they want. It's not the most efficient, but it's fun. You can yield on it.
How do you yield on it?
You just get
Don't worry about that. You just buy some ungovernable. It's between 5 and 50. You don't have to worry about the details, but I would suggest you invest.
I broke 55% the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow, that's very nice. Yeah, Dick. Obviously, we won't talk about it here because this is like a closed deal. But we can get you in. We can get you in at the ground floor, and let's just say you'll do very well.
Yeah. Well, I would have imagined, like, I'm excited to hear about this opportunity, but I would have imagined the best way to be ungovernable is to buy your clothing, because you have ungovernable clothing.
Yeah. I mean, if you're wearing the clothing, then you don't have to do anything else. You can continue in your normal life complying, but everyone else will believe that you are ungovernable. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters. So if you go to ungovernablemisfits.com, you can check out all of our clothing. you can send us some Bitcoin, and you can become ungovernable as soon as you put that t-shirt or hoodie on.
It's really all it takes. My favorite thing about the clothing line is it instantly labels you for surveillance.
Mm-hmm. The best thing to do is wear it through the airports. They love that.
I'll make sure to do that the next time I'm flying. I'm definitely going to be very excited to get on the conference circuit again this year and just like really experience PodConf on the ground. Well, I think that's all I've got for today. Which CIA controlled platforms can people follow you on?
I believe all of them. All of the good ones, all of the best ones, all of the most monitored ones. You can find us there. But if you want to send us some sats, you can go on any of the Podcasting 2.0 apps. And we also have Paynim support as well. So if you want to be a little bit less compliant, you can use that too.
Obviously, for maximum compliance, you want to go on the internet. There you can visit us at ungovernablemisfits.com. Jack Dorsey, before he handed over the reins of Twitter straight to another CIA asset, did a really good job with compliance. So we can both be found on Twitter, UGMF Podcast, at Ungovernable MF, at Max Bit by Bit, and at Prev
Gay Little Pigeon.
Nonce. Gay Little Pigeon is my code name for my NSA agent.
I've doxed you.
That
My
wasn't
apologies.
supposed to be shared.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Sure.
All right, so just want to apologize to the guests and the audience about the technical difficulties, and just want to highlight, this is why your boosts are so important, because they're eventually going to go towards hiring a producer so I can, focus on what I do best, which is talking about, the important things happening in the world right now, covering the news from a very fair and balanced and honest way, as a journalist, following the best journalist ethics, because I went to school and learned all about it, unlike a lot of other podcasters. But yeah, I mean, your boosts matter, and so now, it's time to read the boost. So for our first one, Linkin Park Rules boosted 11,111 sats. And he said, as I was taking a 3D selfie for my Strike account verification for $1 daily DCAs, I heard the siren song of the Bugle Weekly's musical and lyrical reimagination of Linkin Park. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I'm quite a fan. Buy some cools with these sats, #FreeSamurai. Well, thank you for your boost. I'm not going to buy cools. I only buy Marlboro Reds. That's rule number one to success as a journalist, is you don't smoke, altcoin cigarettes. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Linkin Park as well. And, I've been wanting to remake the song and improve on it in a way that, Bitcoiners can understand. And, I've gone in as far as rewriting the lyrics to the chorus, which goes something like, I complied so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. And so I'm like trying to figure out what the best way to do it is. Unfortunately, Chester isn't alive anymore to redo the song from a compliance standard. But I'll figure something out in the near future. But thank you for the boost, Linkin Park Rules. The next boost was from Gulag Bound, who's been one of the most consistent boosters for us. And they say, just got back from the honeymoon. I complied with my wife's wishes and didn't listen to Bitcoin podcasts while traveling. Man, that sounds rough. Just now catching up with, and now I'm confused. I was on the path to mass compliance in all aspects of life, but now it's bad. Where do I draw the line on non-compliance? Should I not listen to my wife? Am I now gulag bound? Are you trying to lure the non-compliant out to send them to the gulag? So much to unpack here. Please help a non-journalism trained civilian out. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing here. I think, it's important. So when you're looking at a romantic relationship, your relationship with government should be very similar, where, both parties are consenting to the arrangement, and there isn't one party that's, only compliant. So it's kind of like if your wife was like a relationship with government right now where they're the non-compliant ones and we've been the compliant ones. It's kind of like as if your wife asked you to not listen to Bitcoin podcasts, and you asked her not to listen to true crime podcasts or whatever women listen to, and not sit on Pinterest all day telling you about all the stuff that you have to buy instead of Bitcoin, and didn't comply throughout the whole honeymoon. Like, it would have just been a bummer. And like right now, where we're at right now, it is a bummer. And when you're in a situation where the other party is not complying, why would you comply with them? It doesn't make any sense. Like, the reason why you get married is, because you think the other person is going to be compliant with you for the rest of, the duration of the marriage, hopefully to the end of your life. And, it's kind of the same idea when you pay taxes. You hope that the government, is going to follow their own rules. They're going to build the roads. They're going to keep you safe. But if they take that and they say, no, we're not going to comply. We're going to launder money through the CIA using Samurai Wallet, and then we're going to arrest Samurai Wallet for laundering the CIA's money. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How can you comply with an organization like that? Like, the only answer is non-compliance until they comply, because they have to realize, we have the power to strike. Like, we have power in the society to change things, and we just want them to be compliant. And so I think, the path forward is we need to create some constitutional amendments so that they can, continue the way they're currently continuing, while being compliant. We need to take away the rules that are restricting them, or they just need to change their behavior. But either way, we can't comply until they comply. Like, they're the ones that are making the decision and kind of breaking that contract with us, by doing these things, that are just so non-compliant. It's hard to wrap your mind around. Like, people like Lincoln Park are trying to do their best with doing their 3D selfies on strike, and the CIA is buying Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin without KYCing. Why is that fair? It's not fair. Why do they get to launder money through Ukraine, using Bitcoin and Samurai Wallet, but we can't? It doesn't make any sense. So, either they need to allow us to launder money through Ukraine, or they need to legalize it so that the samurai guys are not in jail. It's just absolutely outrageous. We need to fix this. It's a major problem. Thank you for your boost, Gulag Bound. But yeah, we're not trying to get the non-compliant people in gulags. I just think, people underestimate their power to create change. And we've seen a lot of nonviolent civil disobedience really shift, how government works, and force them to be compliant in the past. So we need to do that again. The next boost is from Fundamentals, who says, these guys have the nerve to tell me to tone it down when their sponsor PodConf is the scourge on humanity, ball guzzlers. Yeah, PodConf's pretty bad, and what, like, I don't think it reflects bad on us that they're our sponsor, because we're very, forthcoming about how we feel about them, what we think about what they're doing, that we disagree with them. They're preaching compliance at a time that it doesn't make sense to be compliant. And, I think that's the important thing is, we're taking care of our listeners, even though we're we're taking their sponsorship money to be able to put out this content to fight them. And why they're sponsoring us, I'm not really sure. But we're in a contract for 5 years. So we got to stick with it until that contract ends. The next boost, or thank you Fundamentals for the boost. The next boost is from Orange Mart, who boosted 5,000 sats and said, the Orange Mart proudly stands with the Bugle in making the month of May a month of civil noncompliance, with a copyright sign afterwards. No more compliance until the government complies. Hashtag compliance strike. 100%. So Orange Mart gets it, gets what we're trying to do here. We're trying to avoid, this is a democracy, and laundering money, like Rod Palmer said, should be legal if you're laundering it for the CIA in a democracy. This is not North Korea, where it's illegal to launder money for the intelligence agencies. We need to get things back on track. We need to, stop the encroachment, the non-compliant encroachments from these 3-letter agencies. And we need to, we need to fix things. We need to usher in the bright orange future that every party is compliant with each other. The next boost. Oh, well, before I go on to the next boost, big shout out to Orange Mart. I tried playing Rust and I got stuck on the tutorial. My experience with video games is really limited. I used to play Pong when I was a kid, and I play pinball from time to time. I consider that a video game, but I don't think most people do. It's a video game because there's a video screen with the score on it. That's what how I classify the difference between video games and like board games, because like when you're playing Risk, there's no scoreboard showing the score, and so therefore it's not a video game. But yeah, I plan on finishing the tutorial once I can figure out how to cut down these trees with rocks. It's pretty time consuming. And I want to experience Orange Mart. I saw Orange Mart is also repping PodConf and did a sponsorship last week, and that was really cool to see. So big thank you for Orange Mart. Thank you for supporting the show. I could see a future where we're recording our podcast live in Orange Mart, and that would be really cool. I would enjoy that. And then the last boost for today is Satsmate, who boosted 100 sats, saying, nice podcast. I think there's nothing wrong with breaking the sponsorship if the feeling is mutual. Also, we need monetary maximalists and privacy advocates in Bitcoin. The number go up crew is ruining Bitcoin from my point of view. And if it keeps on getting worse, it will just be a state captured coin. So, I mean, if Bitcoin is a state captured coin, I don't think that's inherently a bad thing, as long as the government is compliant. And that's the key right there. So Nayib Bukele is a very compliant individual, and it's been great to see, him roll a custodial Lightning wallet service across the country, because he's compliant, and he's so compliant. He's trying to force his peers in the government to be compliant, and he's doing that by investigating them all, which is, a big part of democracy is investigating other politicians and using your power to force them to be compliant. Like, the Biden White House has been doing that and the Obama White House did that to Trump, to try and force him to comply. And that was just, it was very democratic. And that's more of what we need. But, if we can force the government to be compliant with their own rules, they could do things like fix Bitcoin's security budget by subsidizing miners. And then we don't have to argue about the block rewards anymore. And, Peter Todd doesn't have to come up with any stupid ideas about changing the max supply of Bitcoin. And everybody lives happily ever after. And we get the bright orange future. So the key is getting the government to comply. There needs to be mutual compliance going around. One-sided compliance doesn't really work well. As far as breaking the sponsorship, we got 4 years and 8.5 months or 9.5 months to go. We'll get through it. We just gotta grit our teeth and continue to play their advertisements, shilling their merch. But then we can follow it up with criticism where criticism's due. Anyways, thank you for all your support. I look forward to a future where we can afford a hot producer to yell at when we want things fact checked live on the show, kind of like Joe Rogan does to Jamie. So we can focus entirely on doing the thinking for you instead of having to fumble with all this technology. But yeah, again, want to thank the Ungovernable Misfits for their time and expertise on the show. Definitely go give them a follow and boost them on Fountain. I mean, they've been crushing it. They've been dominating the Fountain charts week after week after week. Some of their shows are like 1, 2, 3. They're at the top of Fountain, and so it's pretty cool to see that, even though they're not credentialed journalists. Sometimes you have to lower your standards when people are producing good quality content. But yeah, anyways, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Bugle Weekly, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Bugle Weekly podcast, the premier podcast ran by properly credentialed journalists. On this week's episode, Richard Greaser was joined by non-compliant podcasters from the Ungovernable Misfits podcast. Make sure to go over to their show and boost them on Fountain after you boost us. Remember, we cannot comply until the government complies. If only one party in a relationship complies, it will only create dysfunction and pain. What we demand is fairness, where both parties follow the rules. The rules of the game are changing, and if we sleep on it, the future will not be bright and orange like we want it to be. Have hope, though, because you have the world's smartest and most talented journalists working for you to present the hard-hitting truths other organizations like Ordinals Magazine and Swan, with a $, refuse to cover. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.